You scaring the...
No, I'm not.
The Wi-Fi.
Come here.
Scrapmaster Jerry Fast Fontaine is here with a little update. Again, today is now, how many days? Oh, I keep going backwards.
Hoy es el 4.
So that means there's 16 days before the event. 16 days before the Unified Martial Arts Network Fountain of Youth. It's called the UMAN Fountain of Youth National Championships. See that photo up there? That's ITF World Champion and multiple time U.S. team competitor Jose Iglesias, a.k.a. Tito or Salsa, as we know him back in the 90s. Yeah, Salsa. And the next video, in terms of competitors, OGs, is his video. I'll make sure after this I post it. Yesterday it was Sifu, the legendary Sifu Raul Ortiz. Salsa, or as Tito or Jose, Mr. Iglesias, any way you want to call him, guy has 1,000 names. Literally, used to come down and work out with us back in the early 1990s over at Fontainez Karate. And he took his career and focused on ITF, International Taekwondo Federation Taekwondo, which I actually believe that's the original Taekwondo because it's closer to what we were doing back in the 1970s, before the WTF with the Hogo. And what's interesting about him is not only is he competing, but I understand that his son is competing also. So the divisions that had the least amount of people, which was 8 people in the, and I'm not saying they were fighting, I'm talking about just in total. I mentioned it yesterday, the Kung Fu division, 40 plus Kung Fu division. The women's division, 50 plus actually, 8 women, 50 plus, 8 Kung Fu stylists. It might be 40 plus, could be 50 plus too. And also now, I think we have underbelts. Underbelts, I believe, with 8, it might be up to 10 already, meaning adult male under black belts who are actually competing at the tournament. Because you guys think that this event is just for black belts, but that is not the case at all. This event is for anyone actually 30 and above. Again, UMAN, the Unified Martial Arts Network. I know some of the Spanish guys call it UMAN, which is kind of cool too. But in reality, it's UMAN, Unified Martial Arts Network. I only made 300 of these patches, so it goes to the 300 people who are going to come to compete, the first 300 competitors. Not at this event, probably take 2 events before that happens. And then we will be having sniper fighting and forms certification immediately following this event, so stay tuned. There's at least 2 more announcements to be made in terms of events. One I've mentioned before, that the next Region 11 launch is going to be February 7th of next year. And then we're going to have... one day after Little Bit's birthday. Yeah, so actually, that would be another surprise in itself. But I would like to say that a lot of people have been talking about the rules. And let me explain in a nutshell what the rules are. The rules are, in fighting, you have 2 minutes or 10-point spread when it comes to the black belt fighting. What does that mean? If you're beating the person, if you beat them 10-0, the fight is over. If the score is 10-11, I should say 10-1, 11-1, the fight is over. So as long as there's 10 points, whether it's 12-2, or whatever the case may be. Now, is that going to happen? I don't know. That's a lot of points to be scored ring in that amount of time, but it's possible. We used to do it back in the days, and every technique is 1 point. So again, you have 1 point techniques. And yes, we do have 5 judges. And today I had a conversation with somebody about how the speed today of how they do the judging. And I really don't care for that speed. I care more for the accuracy. And I think the best judge that there is in the entire ring is the person who's actually getting hit. So we do have a rule that's called the honor rule, which says if you score on me and for some reason the judges didn't see it, I can say, yes, he or she scored on me. So I'll bow, salute, and I'll give them their point. And that may sound crazy to some people, but it is consistent with honor and respect, which is what we're supposed to be examples of. So, again, the Unified Martial Arts Network is throwing its first tournament since 2007. The first events that we did, myself and Master Garth Benz and Kiyoshi Chris Colombo, when we did these tournaments, actually my inspiration, believe it or not, was Grandmaster Lee Island. He was throwing a tournament that was not an A-rated tournament, and he needed some help. And there was an organization that he was part of that did not treat him what I would consider nicely. So I said, let me get some judges and competitors and some people to help out. So when they come to New York, it'll get that NASCAR A-rated tournament. And that was the case. We were able to pull that off, and he had the event over at Jacob Javits. Shortly after that, we did the first 2 business seminars that we called We Mean Business for UMAN. And that was done in New Rock City at Kiyoshi Chris Colombo's school. One of the videos is still around. I'm not sure what happened to the second one, but we're going to be sharing those too, because the way we figured, at the time they had NASCAR on one side and then they had NATMA on the other side. And I said, man, why don't we help the competitive school or competition schools get more students, because maybe they may bring more competitors, which made sense to me instead of it being 2 separate entities. So we did the first 2 business seminars. We got supported by quite a few people, including Soki Hassan Khalik, who was at every single event. Hey, how you doing, Gachuk? It's been years since the Rexu days in NBL. I digress. So, in a nutshell, we did the business seminars, and then the first UMAN event was in Bolton, England, and the promoter there was Jason Morrison. And then I threw 3 tournaments in New Jersey in 2008. That other tournament, first tournament, was 2008 also. So then what happened was, you know what, let me see if this actually works. Mr. Iglesias, Tito Salsa, is asking to come in, and I'm accepting him. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, the other day, E&T did it, it worked out, but I couldn't even see him, and everybody else was seeing him. So let's see if this time it works out, because I'm honored to even think that these technically popular legends are participating in this event. And I do hear them. Oh, shit. Oh, sir, how you doing?
How you doing, sir?
All right. So I appreciate, we're going to launch your video for your testimonial. I really appreciate that. And that's just a little bit there. So I was just mentioning to everybody how you used to come down and train in the 1990s over at the school. And we used to have some great fun.
Oh, man. Are you breaking down, sir? I'm breaking down, sir. Sorry. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see if I could get back to it.
No problem. Again, guys, sometimes technical difficulties happen. But the point is that the gentleman that I had mentioned is trying to call in right now. And, and it's cool. So I was just giving some more of the history. We also threw a tournament that was rated by UMAN with Louis Fast Guy Cruz, one of my students, over in Humacao, Puerto Rico. So UMAN events happened in business and in competition from as east as England and as far south as Puerto Rico. Then the 3 events in New York, in New Jersey that I actually sponsored, promoted, and then there was also one of the tournament today is known as KTOC that was with I'm going blank at his name, Diaz. Well, I don't know why I'm going blank at his name. And literally that was a UMAN event also. And then after that, things went crazy. I put people involved with UMAN for 2009. I had to step away because my ex-wife almost died when we were having our last child. And when I stepped away, these two people started another tournament circuit, which was heartbreaking to me. And I didn't get back to competition um, until as a competitor in 2014 because of, again, Grandmaster Lee Island, who at the time started a team called Executive Edge. He got me to come out of what would have been a hiatus after having my family go through some major changes with my clothing line, Rec Suits, and a whole bunch of so-called friends that attacked me. 9% of it unnecessarily because they were lying, and 1% was legit, which I also made good on that year after when I had a partnership deal with another manufacturing company. But I was turned off for a minute over in 2014 or 15. I was also going to do the United States version or leg of another circuit that was international that's still around. That didn't work out too well with another partner that I brought on board that turned around and did the same thing. Started another damn tournament circuit in 2010. I should say 2015. So with all these would have been partnerships, they never worked out too well. Now my partnership is slightly different. It's a silent part, non-martial artists that just came on board, and I'll be able to do additional things which are mainstream as opposed to just martial arts related. I believe any sport should support it, ever supported by spectators and sponsors as opposed to the competitors financing what would be the show. So my goal is to at some point be able to get enough sponsorships to be able to cover competitors and spectators, of course, being treated, the way it should be by having a quality show, whether it's the eliminations or the night times. That's why in this event, we're doing the eliminations between 9 and 3 o'clock. The finals start at 5 o'clock, and then immediately we go into the after party. And the only sponsor that we presently really have are Warrior Wheels, and that's Mr. Gilbert Santiago right there, which I appreciate it. He is a student of the legendary Sifu Raul Ortiz. And then maybe I can get one or two of them. But regardless, at the UMAN tournaments, we are giving away $2,000, which is $500 in what would be 4 separate grand championships. Now, the age range for the grand championships are 40 to 59, has their own grand champion. The 30-year-olds are not going to be involved in the grand champion. They're just a trial. That's why it's 30 to 39. Next year, if it works out, we'll have them with their own grand championships versus the 30 and 40. But presently, it's 40 to 59, one grand championship in forms/weapons, plus that same grand championship age range in fighting. We're going to establish the 40s champion by fighting the 40 to 44 versus the 45 to 49, and whoever wins that becomes the 40 champion. We'll do the same thing with the 50s champion, the 60s champion, and even the 70s champion. And you guys saying the 70s champion, and the answer is yes. We have people fighting from 70 to 74, and then we have at least 2 people right now that are fighting from the age of 75, 2 5-year-olds. Then we have an 84-year-old who's only doing forms and weapons. Presently, that's the only person in that division, but we still got some time. So, in a nutshell, we have people competing from as young as mid-30s. I think the youngest is 35 presently, and the so-called elder is 80. So the Unified Martial Arts Network, aka UMAN OG League, launches next year, but this tournament here gets you points to launch your next. In other words, whoever wins here, the 40 champion, 50 champion, 60 and 70 champions, gets a chance to be seated as that champion. So next year when it's time for the grands, it's only the 40, 50, 60, 70. Whoever's that decade champion is going to be the one fighting for the grands. In order to get that, you're gonna have to beat the previous 40th champion or 50th champion. So you get a chance to defend your title for the finals, which it's what they used to do in Karate Illustrated. Back in the days, there was 8 people in the nighttime finals, was guaranteed there were gonna be 3 great matches, and this is gonna be similar to that. And it's gonna be so awesome because we're gonna see quality techniques. Um, the forums, that's really going to be interesting because we have some real deal legendary competitors and forms, both male and female, both weapons and forms. I mean, so the spectators are in for a real treat. My nickname is Fast Feet. That nickname was given to me by my mother, and I like to mention that because someone like Golden Feet, forget Kurt Holloway. That guy's just a dude with 4th-stage cancer, 71 years old, that has challenges even walking. But Golden Feet, that guy will kick you in the rib and probably crack your face with a back fist. The alter ego is what competition brings out. Dr. J, who wants to see a Julius Irving? No, but I want to see Dr. J, Magic Johnson, etc. So alter ego nicknames are something that are very important. Like the gentleman that called Jose. Jose's nickname is Tito, but we know him as Salsa. Salsa means flavor and footwork and angles and repositions. So I am inspired by the stories of the competitors. I do have a gentleman who thought he was going to lose his toe, but instead they gave him 5 stitches. He said an eye on his toe, and they did look like an eye. So he's still trying to figure out how to get around with that boot to compete in the tournament. I have another gentleman who literally ripped his hamstring off his bone a little over a month and a half ago, and he's still trying to figure out how he's going to compete at this tournament. I have a person that literally had 7 weeks of chemotherapy before he registered, after the fact. We have 9 people with cancer, people with diabetes and high blood pressure, and every excuse in the world. So what's your excuse? If you guys want to as judges, that's fine. If you want to just do forms, that's wonderful. If you want to be just a spectator, we appreciate you too. However, what I'm saying is this. You might still have some gas in that tank, and you might as well leverage that gas in the tank. We're going to document it. I think the biggest complaint, or I should say sad thing, I'm going to say, I wish I would have competed. I wish I would have, could have, I should have competed. I should have done forms. Oh, I should have fight. You're gonna shut all over yourself, meaning make excuses as opposed to taking action. And again, guys, this tournament here, I came up with the idea in June, and the reason I did it was and is because at the national tournaments like NASCAR, that we literally, gave blood, sweat, and tears to develop it. My generation. We were talking about that today with Sensei Marty Eubanks, who's coming all the way from Kentucky to compete in the Boogie Down Bronx. The legendary Marty Eubanks. Again, Region 7 on the Karate Illustrated. The same thing with, I mentioned it before, the legendary Toki Hill coming all the way from Ohio. And some of his teammates at the AAU National Karate Team representing the United States or 1980, late 70s, not Corley, excuse me. Toki Hill himself won. He was the first American to win a gold medal at WUKO World Championship, which back then is considered what WKF is today, meaning Olympic style karate, which was a lot more brutal than what you see today. But Tokyo also competed in the open tournaments. Probably have the ugliest photo I've ever seen in my life when he was fighting Danny Dixon, and his foot is right on Danny's chin as he's stomping him, and his chest is open from his gi top. It was a ferocious photo. So Toki Hill, along with teammate Alberto Pena, coming all the way from Arizona, and his other teammate Jose Jordan, coming all the way from Florida, are going to be in the house, not as competitors, but as judges and VIPs. In addition to that, we have the legendary Grandmaster Joe Corley, who not only was rated back in 1967 as one of the top 10 fighters in point, but he fought and was the first person that Bill Superfoot Wallace defended his title against in 1985 for his PK middleweight championship. So Grandmaster Corley will be in the house again, either judge or just a VIP. Doesn't matter to me. Same thing with also Tayari Cassell, who literally was one of the first Kung Fu stylists that was actually fighting in Kung Fu style versus karate with ground fighting, and legendary when it comes to forms. And the guy's in phenomenal shape to this very day, a real deal, legitimate martial arts legend. Also, and I don't care if he's judging, but he's there at least as a VIP. And then one other person worth saying, because this lady to me, 83 years young, she's coming all the way from Florida, and she's the legendary promoter of the biggest and most successful martial arts tournament that was done in Madison Square Garden. That was her last hurrah, even though she was doing tournaments from the 1970s. Her name is Joyce Santa Maria, Master Joyce Santa Maria. She also sat on the board of directors for both NASCA and also Educational Funding Company. She's the lady who helped me become a professional martial arts school owner by having me EFC Educational Funding Company back in 1988. And because of her, our operation was able to grow the Fontaines Karate to 1,000 students at one point in 4 of the 5 boroughs of New York City. And again, like I mentioned, my nickname Fast Feet was given to me by my mother, the same way I gave a whole bunch of people nicknames. And probably the most popular one might be Mighty Joe or China Doll, rest in peace to her. Plus Exotic is not too far off in terms of being legendary nicknames that I gave away. And I might as well throw in No Joke, which is another one of my black books. And hopefully they'll be able to, those who are still around will be able to come. Some can't because logistically it's not possible personally because it is a short, basically it's an event that didn't have a lot of time to really schedule, but people are really jumping through hoops to make it here. And I'm proud to say that we are going to have more than enough judges. I do not need any more judges, guys. I capped it out. It was supposed to be capped out at 30, and I put it all the way to 40, and that's more than enough. Having 10 extra judges is more than enough. Now, for those of you who want to donate, yes, you can in a variety of ways. I appreciate that because we do not have a lot of sponsors to cover that $2,000, but anyway you put it, I'm committed to doing that and making that happen. So anything that you guys do, whether it's buy t-shirts or come as spectators, what have you, is highly appreciated. Anything else, honey? Want to add anything else?
Thanks. Coco said, "Hola, how you doing?"
Okay, so and again, when it comes to timing, guys, yes, I would prefer if you guys registered beforehand, like someone like Sensei Joyce has done months ago. However, if you have to do it at the door because you're old school, that's fine. I will not accept any more of these. Believe it or not, guys, these are for the tournaments, because I'll stop that on the 10th. The 10th, because by the time we get it and deposit it, believe it or not, it takes 5 to 7 days, 5 to 7 business days for them to clear a check, which is ridiculous when I think about it. But most people aren't doing it. Now we accept no checks at the door, please. I don't want to create a situation that is embarrassing to anybody. We will have signs in terms of what. And there is no black belt list. There will be no black belt list. So anyone that's going to be there is either going to be a competitor, judge, timekeeper or scorekeeper, which we already have those filled too, or a spectator. There is no black belt list. So
I'm sorry. I'm gonna do the signs. The ones that he's talking about with the stencils.
yeah, so we give a little project. We might have to get bigger ones. I'm not sure. That might be.
Well, the one that's in my store.
Yeah, that's a little too small. But again, it is a group effort. Miss Little Bit is a little excited and nervous at the same time. She knows she's gonna meet a lot of people that she's never met before.
Yep.
And all I can say is that this tournament is in the memory of my mother, and it's I've had so much help from a lot of people, and the ones that I have to mention right now would be Bad Boy Luis Ruiz, the legendary fighter who is competing. In addition to that, We also have Master Tyrone Randolph, who's been helping tremendously, and who will be competing. He's in the 40s. Louis Royce is in the 60s. And then we got, I'm not sure what's his title right now, so I apologize. So I'll just say Hanchi Abdullah, who's doing a phenomenal job spreading the word, and I really appreciate it. Same thing with Sifu Raul Ortiz. And guys, please don't get upset at me if I forget someone's name, because there's a lot of moving parts that are happening right now. And I'll be honest with you, every day getting closer to the event, I get more excited and a little nervous. The excitement and nervousness, goes hand in glove. In addition to those two people I mentioned, I'm going to mention Senpai Franklin Ortiz, who's always been completely supportive, and I appreciate him. And then we have my student Tony Torres TNT, who was the catalyst of some of the stuff that ended up becoming the tournament. So again, we have 8 women plus, actually 50 plus. I mentioned that earlier, and we have there's a gentleman that tomorrow's video I'm gonna put it up, and he called it a martial arts extravaganza. And I do remember that name being used. Rest in peace. And I wish he was around, been there. See George A.M. because his event was a martial arts extravaganza too. So, guys, I really appreciate you. Not sure what else to say except that it's 16 days to the event. And hopefully, if I can help, guys, go to sniperfight.com. You have the website free until the tournament. And it's over 10 hours of all my secrets for stretching and kicking and mindset when it comes to being a top competitor. And for those of you who keep asking me if I'm going to compete in my own tournament, the answer is no. However, on February 7th, I think I have an idea to do something by competing against one of maybe the NASCAR champion. That'd be nice. The NASCAR champion in the 50 category, who actually happened in New York, who relocated to Atlanta. I think it'd be nice if we had a set match between him and I in the final, because it wouldn't jeopardize the tournament, but it'll still satisfy my desire to compete against someone who I consider a champion. He's been doing this for over 10 years at the high quality level, and I really am grateful and appreciative and a fan of, and I'll say his name. His name is, well, you guys tell me who you think it is. On that note, AB,
See you later.
thank you very much. Bye-bye.